All right, folks, welcome back to another round of coffee questions and kind of like shop talk. So one of the questions I get is, do you ever make things that don't actually sell? And what things do you make that sell the best? I mean, because other people, maybe where they live, would like to duplicate them, do the same thing. I'm going to show you a few things right now of what sells. And yes, I've made things that don't sell. Sometimes they were just experimental. And I take photos, like I tell you, keep them on my phone, show them to people, and that's my way of kind of fueling my hobby. I don't do any big push advertising or anything like that because I have a normal job like everybody else. But let me show you real quick what I mean. These, it's like a boot picker. I showed it to you in the last video. Let's see if I can get a little close up. I sell a few of these, not very many, to be honest with you. So I have like a couple of them laying around. If somebody pops up and wants one, I can get it to them very quickly. What about this from the last video? These sell, but they're a little pricey. So, you know, it depends, but they're pretty good little product. I sell them for about 40 bucks, 45 each. I can spray them, do a combination of things. So this one is like in its raw. Coat racks, little hangers, 5 bucks a piece or so, but you got to buy 5 of them at a time, or 4 or 5. And I countersink the holes, everything like I told you in the last video. These sell so-so. I made one of these, and I'm going to pause the video in a minute and show you the others. Now this is just out of scrap railroad ties. And it's like a cord hanger. You can put it in your garage, wrap cords around it. They don't sell. It's really heavy. It's bulky. It's not all that attractive, I get it, but I made it out of scrap that I was going to throw away anyway. And I just wanted to see what would happen. So I've got a couple of them I use to put, you know, my chainsaw and some other things on. And, you know, other than that, they don't sell though. They're not that good. Give me just a sec, I'll be right back, and I'll show you some other things. Here's another one of those star things that I said that doesn't sell because I had made a couple of them at that time. This one I painted. Not that good of a seller. Here's a big one made out of full-blown railroad ties. It's big and it's heavy. I sold one of these to somebody that has a barn. They really wanted it. They designed it more or less. I made it. They bought it, another $40, $45 item, but this is the second one, so these don't really sell either. Okay. This right here, this is, I got one on my MIG welding cart to wrap my lines on, and this works really well. These sell pretty good. Now I've sold to a bunch of home hobbyists. I think I've sold about 10, 14 of these so far. And I do videos. I got a video showing you how to make this if you want to make one, you know, for your garage. They look kind of cool. The only thing that I would suggest, I only had these small bolts for the eyes. Get bigger bolts. It'd look better with bigger bolts, but you know, it's doable. And like I said, I've got this one in inventory in case I sell it, but these do sell. Okay, hang on, let me clean up and I'll show you some other things that sell. You guys, I've shown you a video on how to make these. It's a hot dog cooker for your barbecue. These sell. I've sold a lot of these. This is a big kind of a novelty, gimmicky, fun to have, talk about your friends and all that kind of a thing. These sell really well. I've probably sold 40 or 50 of these. This one's a tool holder. Same concept really, except for this time I put like a gun in his hand. You saw that on the last video that we did. I've sold about 4 or 5 of these, but this is a new thing that I've done for, you know, holding tools. I'll see how it sells. I'll let you know downstream. Now I'll show you a couple other things that I sell fairly regularly. Okay, now this is mounted on a piece of wood. You can tell it's just pine wood. I stained and I put a finish on there, and then I put that same cowboy thing in here like I showed you. These you can have fun doing. It's easy to make. And what happens with this, this is what it looks like in the end. It'll hold a wine bottle. Let me give you a better view of this. It's like this. These I sell several of. It runs in patterns because I make them differently. So that's one. Let me show you another one. This is one of like a Bronc Rider, okay? Again, same pine wood, same staining, just a lighter color. Same cowboy welded up. Wine bottle just slips right in through here. And there you go. Now, this I've sold quite a few of these. A lot of times what I do is there's these events that come up. I show you a couple of more before we wrap up the video in a sec. Where do I sell them? They've got what they call hits, which is show jumping. And they have different events, you know, for people that are into horseback riding and stuff. So I'll put like 15 of these or more in the trunk of my car, or I give them to my wife and she takes them down and she has no problem selling them. And I get rid of them fairly quickly. Like I said, it fuels your hobby, right? Let me show you a couple more. I'll answer a few questions. We'll wrap this up. All right, here's another one. And this one, I sprayed it with kind of a bronze color because I made about 4 of these. I sold 3 of them. That's what I had laying around. So let me show you how this one works. Like that. I don't want to tilt it too much. I'm going to end up dropping the bottle out of it, but you know, nice little gimmicky kind of a wine bottle holder. Let me show you one more. All right, here's one right here. Same one, just a darker color wood. You just put the wine bottle like this, and there you go. Or you can put any kind of liquor bottle, I suppose. Easy to make. The piping, all this stuff, easily available at Home Depot or Lowe's. Same thing with the pine wood. Okay, let's go over to questions and answers on some of these things and see what else you got to say. Now, I do make knobs like I showed you in my last video. You just tap. I use a railroad tie. I cut them about right here or wherever, and then on the back end I just drill it, tap it, and I provide the screw, everything else, and like I said, I ship them in groups of 5 because I ship USPS. Makes it more efficient for me, and you definitely got to buy more than one because it's not worth my while. Okay, let's go over to questions and answers. Okay, so you can make lots of different things, okay? It's just limited to your imagination, and you can get real elaborate with this stuff. Now, the tool holder one, let me grab that guy again. This tool holder one, I made a couple of these the other day for a girl's bathroom. And I put these rings, but a smaller diameter because she put her toothbrush and the razor for shaving her legs, stuff like that. So you discuss these things with people. Oh, well, that's pretty cool, but I don't know what I would use it for. I said, well, you ever thought about using one in the bathroom? You can mount this on wood, and you know, if you got a router, great. If you don't, you can still round off the corners. You can use a little bit of stain and clear finish, and you can make them look pretty dang good. And they're decorative, okay? So you can use these. In this case, I used all horseshoes. You can see right here. I like to use the railroad ties when I can. It just gives it a more fuller body and stuff, but there's nothing wrong with making them like this either. You can do repair welding if you want. I have friends that'll call and say, hey, I have my gate, I have a wrought iron gate, and the latching mechanism's broke on it, or I put a deadbolt into it, and I don't have anything for the deadbolt to go into. So what I did is I took a piece of rectangular steel like this. I cut it probably about like that, and I welded that little portion that I cut off to the vertical part of the gate, and then the deadbolt slid over into the hole. You know, so you can, my point is you can play around and make money doing this by just making yourself available or showing people on your phone, I mean, the products and stuff that you have to sell, but not everything for me sells. So somebody said you must make one hell of a lot of money. No, times I make pretty good money, other times not so good. Let's take the cowboy guy again. I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got about $4.50 in material if I bought it. If I went out and actually bought the horseshoes. I don't, because I trade a local farrier in exchange for free horseshoes. So let's say that I did. And so I got $4 into them, and I'm selling them for 25, 30 bucks. So, you know, let's say I make $20 every time, you know, I sell one. Sometimes I sell them for 45, depends on how much I've got into them in terms of the ropes and, you know, the little round pieces of pipe. I mean, all this stuff that, you know, I get into, sometimes I sell them for 30. Okay, well, then I made like about $25, you know, give or take. So there's this big tug of war, but I sell them at a price where I can move them. And that's what it's about to me. I'm not trying to hold out for 50 bucks a piece or something like that, where your sales may not be where you want them to be. So, all right, that answers that question. Let me take a look at the forum. I'll be right back. Let me just see if anybody's posted anything they wanted to ask me, and we will wrap this up. It's just kind of a fun day. I couldn't get into any projects. I had friends over and all this stuff, and they're still here. They went to lunch, so I thought I would just make a quick video. Let me take a look. One of the questions is, what about the wood bases? It's just pine board from out at Home Depot is where I got that. I get them about the width that I need. You just measure the base of the horseshoe, get it a little bit wider. I have a router, okay? You can use a trim router or any power router you want. And you can get quarter round, half round. You can get chamfer bits. Ryobi makes a set of them. And so do a lot of people now. The router bits I got, I'll look them up and I'll leave them in the link below. You can check at the end of the video. I got mine off Amazon. They're not that expensive, where you get through 30, 40, 50 boards, and then they'll start to dull out and they'll start to burn. And you know you've kind of used them up, so unless you know how or have a way to sharpen them, you just buy another bit, you know. I mean, it's that simple, but you can put a nice edge on them. You can use a jigsaw if you have one and round off the corners. You can use sandpaper or a random orbital with, you know, different grits of sandpaper and smooth it all out and make it look really nice. When it comes to the finishes, I had somebody keep dropping me a note like, you can't use Minwax and you can't use Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Clear. They're incompatible with a wax product. It's Minwax is the manufacturer. I mean, if you read the back of it, it's an oil penetrating stain is what I used. And I let it dry for several days or so until it's real dry. And then I turn around and I spray coat with gloss or semi-gloss the Rust-Oleum. That's just my favorite, okay? And I buy it off Amazon too. I get a lot of stuff out on Amazon because it ships Prime, it ships for free, it shows up at my doorstep. You can go out to Home Depot and buy it, it doesn't matter, or Lowe's, but that's the way I do it, and I give it several coats. The first coat I let set for quite a while, and then I do 2, 3, 4 more coats on top of that until I get the finish I'm looking for. Then I take and I secure these down to it. It's just a matter of drilling like a hole here and a hole here, and like in the last video, use a chamfer bit, screw it down, line the other one up the way you want it, do the same thing. Now, I've had pretty good luck selling them with those bases on there. People a lot of times really like the bases. Sometimes I ship these, and people will buy the cowboy things from me, and then they will put it on the piece of wood themselves because they have the tools at home to do it. So that's the reason why I say I sell horseshoes, I sell railroad spikes. I will do part of the fabrication for you or all of it. It's your choice. If you want to do it all yourself and I didn't cover something in the video, just drop me a comment and ask me the question. But I kind of disagree with that one comment, like I said, where they said they're incompatible because it's a wax product. It's not a wax product. It's an oil-based product. And that Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Clear apparently is compatible because I've been using it for, what, years now. Now, there's another one out there that you can get. It's made by Krylon. It's Ultra Max. You can get that at a lot of supply stores. It works good too, okay? It's just that when I buy my stuff off Amazon, I'll buy several things at a time that I know I'm running out of or that I need. And it all ships to me and shows up at my doorstep. But you can go to the hardware store. You could probably get this stuff out at the big box stores. You just have to take a look around. But that's how I finish the wood. My only other advice to you on finishing the wood is make sure you sand through your grits. And don't jump more than 50. I mean, if you sand at 80, you know, go to 120. From 120, try to go to 180, 220. Now from 220, you can jump. I've jumped from 220 to 320. I've also jumped from 320 to 400, 400 to 500. You can do that because the finer, as you go through those grits, the finer it becomes. It seems the easier it is to sand where your eyes are not picking up all the marks in the grain. A lot of times I go to some of these craft shows and I'll see like some of the things that people do. You can see where they didn't sand out the previous grit. So one other little tip, you can get yourself a pair of reading glasses down at the dollar store. I use about 2 or 2.5 times magnification. I have them right here actually, the pair that I got. And then I sand really well with the 80 grit. I blow it all off and I look real close at it and make sure I got all the marks out of it that I wanted. Now let's say I go to 120 grit and I spend time sanding it and let the machine do its work. Don't press down hard on it. It doesn't work like that. You got to let the machine do its work. So I sand, I blow it all off. I take these glasses, I look down, and I try to make sure I got out all of the marks of the 80 grit. Okay, now I go from 120 to 150. I do the same thing. Each time you do it, clean the surface off real well before you start with the next grit. Okay, and then you keep moving through your grits like that. As you get to the finer and finer and finer grits, you don't need to worry so much. It's still important, and I still use these, and I look down at the wood grain to make sure I got all the previous marks. Now, in doing the bases for these horseshoes, I get up to about 150 and I stop, and somebody goes, why would you do that when, you know, you can get so much like a slicker finish on the wood from sanding? Because I'm going to put a film finish on it, and I'm going to stain it, and then I'm going to turn around, I'm going to put a film finish over it. It's not going to matter if I went to 320 or 400 at that point. If I was doing a wood turning and I was doing an oil finish, then yes, it becomes more important at that point. We can do videos going forward on this stuff and you'll see what I mean in examples, but if you sand real well at 150 and clean it off really well before you put stain or anything on there, you're going to be fine. Okay, so that just gives you some tips and an overview on what sells, what doesn't. I mean, so maybe where you are, something else that I'm not selling will sell better. I don't know. It's hit and miss. That's the reason why I keep all the photos. So look, I'm going to let you go because it's probably getting kind of long here. I'm the Home Handyman. I hope you enjoyed the channel. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Get something out of it, you know, drop a comment. Let me know if you agree, disagree, anything like that, which is fine as long as you keep the comments clean. I'll leave them there and I'll respond to you. You folks have a great afternoon. I will see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.